I thank Mr. Wolf for his kind remarks in support of the resolution. I'm pleased to yield at this time to the gentleman from Texas, Dr. Ron Paul, for 3 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the chairman for yielding. I agree certainly with the sharp criticism about, against the government and the leaders of Iraq. I do disagree with what we're trying to do here. Not because it's not well motivated, but I don't see that we have the authority to all of a sudden impose our system of justice across the entire world. I do not think it's effective. I think it drums up more anti-American hostility more than it achieves justice. But there's a bit of inconsistency here. Earlier it was mentioned that it is not only the Iraqis that abuse the Kurds. The Turks do it as well. Why aren't the Turks included? Why don't we pull them, call them out and put them on the carpet and demand justice from the Turks? They happen to be our allies. At the same time, we ignore other major problems. I mean, what did we do with China? China, the leaders of China came here, they got a red carpet and a promise of more money. But how did they treat their people? At Tiananmen Square and currently throughout their whole country. They abuse civil liberties there, but are we going to do the same thing? Do you think we can do that? We pick and choose and pretend that we are going to perform this great system of justice on the world. Indonesia today, they're getting bailed out by the American taxpayer to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. They mistreat in a serious manner the people in East Timor. But here we decide that all of a sudden that we are going to, through the United Nations, expose the American taxpayer, expose young American soldiers, because how are we going to enforce these things? And where do we get this authority to be the policeman of the world? In 1 second, if I could. I do not believe we have this authority. I believe it's detrimental overall to our national security. I believe it's a threat to the American people indirectly in many ways to the taxpayer. So I object generally to so many of these amendments, so well intended. I do not disagree with the challenges, the charges made against Iraq and the leadership. I strongly criticize the approach to trying to solve this very serious problem, and I yield.
First of all, would the gentleman suggest that there isn't a relationship between freedom and peace?
Pardon me?
There's no, your speech is predicated on the idea that there's no relationship between freedom and peace.
Well, I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Well,
I know that the most important thing for freedom and peace is for me to obey the Constitution.
Well,
and where is it the authority of the Constitution for us to police the world?
Well, would the gentleman was suggesting then that this body should not have condemned Adolf Hitler until he actually attacked the United States? Is that what you would suggest? Is that your foreign policy?
I think that is in the debate on the floor right now. Well, I think the debate here...
we have an Adolf Hitler in the Gulf who's caused...
I think when our national security is threatened, the American people have a right to vote through their congressman for a declaration of war. This is the kind of thing that leads to Vietnam War type wars and UN sanctions. This is the kind of thing that leads to Koreas, Vietnam, and useless wars. This is why we did not win the war in the Persian Gulf and why we're still facing with this problem.
So short of a declaration of war, you don't think the United States government should do anything about tyranny?
I believe in the responsibility of this U.S. Congress to assume that they are the ones who declare war in a proper manner.
I'm pleased to yield the gentleman an additional minute.
Thank you.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional minute.
No, but just in closing, I have no criticism about those who are challenging the leadership in Iraq. I condemn it. I challenge, though, the technique that we're using, the process that we're using. I do not believe we have the authority, and long term it's not effective, and it's totally inconsistent when we're dealing with China. These token resolutions that we dealt with in China will have nothing to do with solving the problem. At the same time, we give them more money. We give the Turks more money. We give China more money. We give Indonesia more money, and they're all in the process of abusing civil liberties. I just think that we have conveniently picked a whipping horse, and we're pretending that we're doing some good, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair would advise the gentleman from New York controls a minute and a half, and the gentleman from Florida has 12 minutes remaining.
Any further remarks?
At this time, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to Mr. Porter.
Thank you.
The gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say to the gentleman who just finished speaking that I certainly respect the consistency of his ideas, but I disagree. If he had expressed those ideas as a member of the parliament in Turkey, or if he expressed them in Iraq or in Indonesia, he might well find himself in the same situation as Leyla Zana and the Kurdish parliamentarians found themselves, and that is behind bars. And it seems to me that if we don't recognize that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper, that we are in some way connected with their freedoms and ours, we will invite the kind of terrorism that Saddam Hussein practices on his people and others practice on their people throughout this world. Let me agree with him, however. Let's stop giving money to the Turks as long as they repress their people. Let's stop giving money to the Indonesian government that takes away the religious freedoms of the people of East Timor. Let's stop supporting dictators that deny the basic human rights of their people. I believe that we attempt very strongly to be consistent. We passed 9 bills dealing with China. I think those bills do have a potential, particularly the one on Radio Free Asia that will broadcast to China and Tibet and North Korea and Burma. I think we have a potential for impacting their society. Let's never give up our ideals and our beliefs in human freedom, the very foundation of this society, because we might see a little inconsistency or can't find the exact words we want to give us authority. The authority is moral authority, and it has a great power in this world if only we will exercise it. I yield back.